Hello, and welcome to another day and another episode of Civil Discourse Now. I'm Mark Small, I'm an attorney in Indianapolis. My co-host is Paul Ogden, also an Indianapolis attorney. We are broadcasting or taping or streaming or however you describe it in the internet age from Big Hat Books in Broad Ripple. It's a part of Indianapolis on the north side, 6510 Cornell Avenue. They have an excellent selection of books here. They also have space to rent for special occasions, should you have special occasions. An excellent selection of books, one of which, I'll do a shameless plug, is a work of fiction, a fictionalized account of a Ponzi scheme in the mid-1960s in Kokomo, Indiana, titled Crime Pays, that I wrote, and you can buy it here. But this is our show today, and we are taping or filming or whatever on October 29, 2011.
Thank you, Mark. We're here, I think it's, 10 days before the election. We're here with a guest, Lynn Farber, is that correct? He is running for the City County Council in District 3. And he is running, there's an incumbent in that seat right now, Ryan Ball, who was kind of to be a guest a couple weeks ago. Welcome to the show, Lynn.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Paul.
So tell us something about yourself. Tell us your background.
Well, my background is different than a lot of people in political life these days. I am not a lawyer, unlike you two. But nothing against lawyers. I have a lot of lawyers in the family, like my brother. But my background is in biomedical research. I have a master's degree in chemistry, biochemistry, and a doctorate in pharmacology. Several years ago, I switched fields and got into the information technology area, and I currently work as a programmer for a company called Keen, which is owned by NTT Data. And I have also, throughout my career, done a bit of adult education. Worked in the program, which I really enjoyed, that I went through to get into the IT field. We took people and we trained them in mainframe programming, COBOL, and some of the old systems that people don't want to do anymore. And the thing that I really liked about that program, and I think should be a model for all career training programs, they talked to the people who were going to hire these students. And they made sure that what we taught was what the companies wanted their new employees to know. And the program closed up in 2002 because the university didn't want to take money from students when there were no longer jobs.
Wow, that's interesting because we've had discussions on our show before about higher education, and in particular one of my pet peeves is we're educating all these lawyers and the job market is tremendously saturated for attorneys, and people are coming out with $100,000 worth of debt.
Exactly.
And they have no jobs.
Also, you mentioned the degrees that you have. I had a conversation this week with a person who teaches at a local college, and he said that he teaches, I don't want to be too specific because I don't want, he was very sensitive about his job and stuff. But the question is this, I never realized that they're having virtual labs now. Mm-hmm. For like anatomy and physiology classes, other classes where people used to do hands-on work on dissection and things. Is that across the board now?
No, it's not across the board, but there is more of that going on. It definitely saves money. There are some students who feel kind of very upset about the idea of dissecting animals.
I can understand vivisection being.
And at various times there have been just a lack of, in terms of human anatomy, there have been a lack of people donating their body to medicine, which makes it harder. But I don't know. I didn't go through those kind of labs when I studied anatomy and neuroanatomy. I had real specimens to work with.
And that was getting off of the issues related to race. I apologize for that.
That's okay.
Another question, and this goes to education. I was on staff at Purdue in the libraries, and a student came in, she was a freshman, and the freshman biology class was assigned a project where they were supposed to write about an organism. They could pick any organism that they wanted. And she came in and did not know how to use a card catalog or a library. Now, I know things have changed and we have the computers and everything, but do you think that Indianapolis's public education system is performing sufficiently so our students are coming out ready to go to college or to do what they need to do?
You know, again, education varies with the school, with the students, with the help they get at home. Education is a very complex topic. There is a great tendency to put a lot onto the teachers now. If students succeed, it's the teachers. If students fail, it's the teachers. But there's a whole lot going on in education. There's a question of preparation, background, family support, community support. Is it considered very uncool in your community to be smart? Is it, you know, in terms of the
And
goals?
there are those communities that do exist.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and I mean, I remember having a conversation in graduate school. Why did you decide to go to college? And I looked at them and thought, there was never a question when I was growing up. It was expected in my family that I would go to college. The question was more, which college and what would you major in? Because that was my family's expectations. Other families, it wasn't the same. There were some people that were very proud to be the first person in their family that had ever gone to university, and I have great respect for those people, but there are different expectations from the family, from the community, problems in, do you get support and help at home, or are your parents working 3 jobs to make ends meet and they're never around to help with the homework? So there are a lot of variables that go into that. I don't want to say that any particular school is failing to properly educate the students. I think that part of education should be, and this again, we're emphasizing testing this knowledge too much. We should know how to learn. We should know how to continue to learn as we go on through life. I have been fortunate. I was taught that when I switched fields. It was easy for me to say, okay, I know biology, now I'm going to learn about computers.
Where did you get your doctorate in pharmacology?
At Rutgers University. And even then, working in the IT field, well, we're working for an insurance company. They said, well, you know, you should know about our customers' background. So I went and I did some self-study. They have books, and got a certificate in general insurance, so I know a bit more about the insurance business. And when I talk to our customers, I understand what they're talking about. Continuing education, continuing to learn throughout your life. You learn how to do that in school. That's one of the things schools should be doing. Schools should be doing socialization as well. And we should get away from this idea that there is a test, this is what marks failure or success in school, and if you succeed or fail, it's the teacher's fault. It doesn't work like that.
Does it help our community, though, to engage in a voucher system, for example, where essentially students, that's showing my bias on it, essentially the student has a voucher that represents funding for that student for that year, and that student can take it to any, they call it free choice, but every single school that I read that was eligible for the voucher program was religious in nature. So they're going to parochial schools, and if they get tossed out of school in 10 days, public schools have to take them back. Do you think that's been a good model?
I worry about that model for 2 reasons. One is the idea of subsidizing parochial schools. I thought that we had established that really shouldn't happen, and as you say, parochial schools take who they want and kick out who they want. But what I'm really worried about is that we go back to 1950-style segregation, only not on the basis of race, but on the basis of economics. When I was growing up in the Detroit public schools, they had a magnet school. All the best students were invited to go there. I was invited to go there. I decided to go to my neighborhood school. In my senior year, there was a course called Senior Math. And nobody took this class unless they were planning on going to college. And part of this class was about a month of calculus. The suburban students were getting a whole semester, but we were getting a month. And the class dragged on. The teacher dragged it out, and finally at the end he couldn't drag it out any longer, and he said, "You people aren't capable of doing this. I'm not going to teach this to you." And I looked around at my classmates. It was half black, half white. But we hadn't gone to that magnet school, so we were being deprived of this meager 1 month of calculus education before college that everybody else was getting. Why? Because we weren't in the magnet school. We had set up a 2-tier system.
How would I'm not understanding how a voucher system could lead to more segregation. I didn't think it would lead to less. You've got communities now are segregated. You're forced to go to the public school. It might be 99% black, might be 99% white. Vouchers, those poor children of another race can pick up and go to another school. In fact, one of a individual I know, who I won't name, who tends to have made this sort of racist comment that she didn't like vouchers, and she was at from the right because those minority kids would be in these white classes. So she was worried about the opposite thing. So I'm not sure it would lead to more segregation.
One of the things that makes a difference in education is parental involvement. And parental involvement is a very strong positive factor.
Right.
If you take a look at who's going to use those vouchers, the parents who are most involved are going to take their kids to the best schools. What happens to the ones left behind? What happens to the ones whose parents are not as involved or are less educated and don't realize what the problems are, or are so busy working 3 jobs that they can't deal with trying to get the vouchers and going through whatever bureaucratic rigmarole you need? I mean, no matter how easy you make it, if you're working 3 jobs, it makes it difficult. Those people are going to be left behind in that neighborhood school, but the voucher schools, the ones that are drawing people, are going to get the funds. They're going to get the concentrated effort. Somebody has to think about those people who are left behind at that local school. And everybody's going to say, well, anybody who wanted to go to a better school would take their voucher and go. And then we have, of course, the question of how the vouchers work. Do they take everybody? Do they take people and throw them back at the public schools if they don't fit in by some criteria? So that's why I worry about the vouchers. It's not that the idea of taking your student and putting them in the best possible school. It's the people that didn't move. The people that didn't take the vouchers will be ignored by society, and that's what I don't want to see.
I thought Indianapolis's public school system was desegregated.
I think it is fairly desegregated. Yes.
Yeah, but I thought it was like by court order, and
I don't know that they bus anymore.
I mean, they don't bus anymore, but I think it's effectively integrated. And I think Shortridge was the original magnet school, because that was set up that way. But yeah, my concern is that the kids get tossed back, and the school keeps the money, and we don't have separation of church and state. We're at the end of our first segment here, so we'll be back in just a minute.